Let me begin by stating that I'm truly honored with the fact that you have accepted the invitation to visit Montenegro. Primarily, as I'm convinced that the effects of reforms we are implementing, not only in the defense sector but generally, are best visible on the ground here in the country, where the activities and operations have been taking place on a daily basis. Montenegro successfully presented its 5th annual national program in NATO headquarters in Brussels 2 weeks ago. On that occasion, we reaffirmed our determination in sharing the common values with our allies, as well as willingness and ability to assume responsibilities and obligations stemming from NATO membership. We reiterated our readiness to continue with reforms in 4 specified areas: reinforcing the rule of law, meeting NATO standards in security and intelligence sector, enhancing public support for joining NATO, and further modernizing our armed forces. Our defense system reforms are focused on developing common doctrine and procedures, further strengthening interoperability of our armed forces, and on building capacities for efficient communication with our international partners. Recognizing the collective defense system as the most optimal concept for Montenegrin security, the new Strategic Defense Review, adopted in 2013, sets priorities for further modernization of our defense capabilities. Modernization always means additional costs. Therefore, precise steps are planned in the area of defense expenditures, the challenge which stands not only for Montenegro as the aspirant country, but for a number of the alliance members too. Changes that we introduced in the law on budget for 2014 allowed further modernization by using the income generating through the sale of surplus ammunition, armament, equipment and property, and this practice will continue. Additionally, modernization of the armed forces of Montenegro is performed in accordance with NATO interoperability mechanisms, primarily with those referring to the processes undergoing within the framework of PARP and OCC concepts. With regard to this, through PARP, we have already declared the units that will be further developed and their capabilities improved so that they will undergo the full OCC evaluation process. As Montenegro contributes to the NATO-led operation ISAF since 2010, new Strategic Defense Review reconfirms our readiness to continue supporting and contributing to global peace and stability in the world. In this respect, Montenegro stands ready to continue with the engagement in Afghanistan in the new mission after 2014, and we find encouraging the approval of the Afghan government for the participation of all potential operational partners in the Resolute Support mission. Hereby, I would like to mention that besides Afghanistan, members of the armed forces of Montenegro are deployed in UN mission in Liberia, EU mission Atlanta, and as of recently, in EU training mission in Mali. We have also participated in observation mission in Ukraine within the multinational inspection teams led by the United States of America and Canada. Montenegro is confident that only the process of Euro-Atlantic integration can ensure long-term, self-sustaining security and stability of the Western Balkan region. In this respect, we have been focused on developing regional cooperation policy, convinced that dialogue is crucial for resolving any outstanding issues in a peaceful manner. In supporting the aforementioned, I would like to inform you that just a few days ago, Ministry of Defense of Montenegro hosted a comprehensive regional ministerial meeting here in Budva. The ministerial gathered delegations from 18 countries and 7 international organizations in the formats of US Adriatic Charter and Southeastern Europe Defense Ministerial process. The meeting was an excellent opportunity to discuss ways on further upgrading regional cooperation in security and defense, particularly in developing specialized capabilities and pooling and sharing our resources when and where necessary, specifically in emergency management, joint use of regional training centers, as well as possibilities to take joint participation in international missions and operations. Dear guests, the overall reforms taking place in Montenegro in the period after regaining our independence have the common goal: democratization of our society. This can be best achieved through strengthening the rule of law in the country. Already invested efforts in these processes are additionally supported with the ongoing European integration processes. As an EU candidate country, Montenegro opened the negotiations with the European Union with the most challenging and demanding chapters, namely the Chapter 23, Judiciary and Fundamental Rights, and the Chapter 24, Freedom, Security and Justice. In this respect, we took the full responsibility on building more efficient and accountable institutions, improving access to justice to all our citizens, promoting gender balance, and building respect for human rights. The implementation of so-called Action Plans 23 and 24 will play a critical role in restoring confidence, promoting accountability, and ultimately creating a favorable environment for restructuring the national economy to enable economical growth and overall transformation. In terms of focus and intensified dialogue with NATO, security and intelligence sector reforms in Montenegro will be another area of additional and intensified efforts in meeting best international standards. Following coherent and integrated approach on national level and having been fully supported by our international partners, during the course of 2014, we already adopted the whole package of new legislation, introduced new working mechanisms, and established new intelligence and security elements. The Ministry of Defense has taken a series of activities in considering this part of our responsibilities in 2012 already by establishing Department for Military Intelligence and Security Affairs under the responsibility of the Ministry of Defense. The last 2 years have been used for making changes of respective legislation and sub-legislation, building infrastructure, recruitment of personnel, and education and training of selected staff. The whole process has been done in cooperation with our NATO partners, and this, of course, will continue even more intensified in the future. Finally, public support is one of the key areas where our NATO partners would like to see progress. In this respect, let me inform you that in parallel with sharing NATO values in military and political areas, we are committed in applying the principles of NATO public diplomacy too. In this respect, through the implementation of communication guidelines for launching and running public dialogue on Montenegrin membership for NATO, we are having interactive communication with every segment of our public. This communication is based on transparency, responsiveness, accuracy of information, and direct engagement with citizens across Montenegro. Encouraged to continue explaining to our citizens what the Transatlantic Alliance is about in the 21st century, we are determined to be open for everyone and not avoid answering the most challenging questions, which will definitely result with the increase of public support, as it was the case in the period just before the NATO summit in Wales. In concluding, I want to thank you all for paying this visit to Montenegro, as Montenegro remains strongly determined to fulfill requirements for joining NATO's shared defense and security system. Dear guests, I wish you all pleasant stay in Budva, hoping that you will depart from here assured in our readiness and commitment to continue with focus and intensive reforms, so once we receive the invitation to join the alliance, you can be confident that Montenegro and its armed forces will be a solid, confident and reliable partner as we have been so far. Thank you for your attention.